Hey, how are you? One of my favourite climbers, the Wisteria. Back in the spring this had long chains, probably 18 inches long, violet flowers hanging down in clusters. You can see where they were. These are the seed heads earlier on this year. But when I first started looking after this plant for my client, it wasn't flowering at all. And the secret to getting Wisterias to flower is the way that you prune them. Very, very important that you prune them probably twice a year. The secret to getting Wisterias to flower is the way that you prune them. Very, very important that you prune them probably twice a year. Once around about now, middle of summer, around about August would be perfect, when it's put on all this long lanky growth and all this growth here. It's so much leaf, there's no chance of that coming into flower. We need to cut back this lanky growth back towards where the old stem is to kind of shock it into flower. We prune it once now around about August time, middle of the summer, to roughly a forearm's length. It's about 5 or 6 buds, I'll show you just now. That's in the middle of the summer, and then in the middle of winter, that shoot that we've got, which is about a forearm's length, we cut back to about a 4 fingers length. So just a couple of buds, and that little short stump is what will produce the flower. I'll show you how we do it now. I'm going to put my sunglasses on because when I'm looking up at the sky, you can actually give yourself a headache or maybe even damage your eyes by looking up at the sky too long. So here goes. How do I look? I can't promise you're going to look as good as this, but I can promise you that if you prune your wisterias, you'll get them to flower. So let me show you what I mean now about these two types of growth. We've got an old stem there, that kind of browny grey wood there, which is from a couple of years ago. This spring, it produced this long, lanky growth. It goes on about 6-7 foot. I'm going to count the buds. We have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. I'm going to cut it off just there, just in front of that bud, and that's fine for the rest of the autumn and the winter. And then what we're going to do in January, I wouldn't normally do this until then, is you can imagine in January this will have dropped all its leaves and you'll have lots of these kind of, I don't know, 2 or 3 foot long stems that you've cut back. We're going to cut them back just to a couple of buds. 1, 2, there's a bud there. So let's just cut that back now. So that's what you're going to be left with in January, and we would hope then that those little stumps will produce lots of lovely flowers next May. If you're good, maybe I'll bring you back and we'll have a look. Hello again, great to see you, and thanks to all of you that have responded to our first video on pruning wisteria to encourage flowers. The first video was about how to prune in the summer to reduce all that big growth that was there last summer. We reduced it down around about August time, July, August, down to about half its length to produce this kind of woodier shoot now in the middle of winter. So round about January time or early February, depending on the winter, how cold it is. We're now going to trim that bit that we trimmed back last year. We're going to cut it back even further, right back down here. I'll show you close up in a second, for no extra charge, mind you, so that we can see how we can encourage those short little flowering shoots, which is what we want to get the flowers in May. Come and have a closer look. Right, so here we are. We've got this shoot that was cut back last year, and you can see these little buds here. Okay, these little buds here potentially are flower buds, and they reckon that you want to cut them back to 2 or 3 buds. So I'm going to take this one back to just here because I like the look of that bud. There you go, look, so we've got one bud here, another one there. You can see these little shoots here that have just got a couple of buds on. That's the sort of shoots that we want to encourage to get the flowers in a month or two's time.